Well, good morning, everybody. I see there's already numbers climbing up, just like there always are. I've got an amazing Bomb crew that's hanging out. We're so excited to spend the next hour with you. We'll give it a little bit here just to kind of let people pop in. It always takes a few minutes to kind of let everybody jump in. Those of you that are here on time, always impressed. It's always an impressive thing when you're here early, logged in, and boom, you're like right in the waiting room. So while we're doing that, let's go through some of the housekeeping stuff. You guys know I always like to just get down to business. We don't like to sit and talk about ourselves for too long. So let's get down to kind of some of the housekeeping. So first and foremost, the number one thing that I always talk about with these is that we want it to be a conversation. We want you to be involved in it. We want you to be a part of it. Our community is a massive part of why Bomb is successful. So use the chat. If you see the chat at the bottom of Zoom here, pop that open and start throwing in. If you want to throw where you're joining from, that's always kind of an easy little icebreaker that you can start having those conversations. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have the settings so that everybody can chat with everyone and we can all see everyone. Awesome. Jen from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Look at that. All right. Beth Ellen, you're always here. We love having you here. It's such a pleasure. So start throwing some chat stuff in. I also encourage throughout this conversation, I don't have a co-host this time, so it's going to be Kevin talking a lot, but start talking on chat. Like I said, our community is such a beautiful part of kind of the Bomb family, and you guys can learn a lot from each other. This is not just to sit and hear what Kevin has to say the whole time. So start those conversations, learn from people. If we're talking about something and you've done something that's worked really well, let everybody know that. Share that with everybody because I think you guys bring so much value to each other in this conversation, and I'm excited to hear kind of what fruit that bears as well. Now we also have the Q&A. A lot of you are familiar with Zoom now. The Q&A is a really good spot to throw in stuff. If you've got a really specific, poignant question that you don't want us to miss, as you can see, the chat can get going a little busy, and we don't want to miss stuff on there. So feel free to throw some things in Q&A. I have amazing help here today, and I'm thrilled to introduce them. First and foremost, Charisse Rodriguez, you are just such like, it's your 1 year anniversary with Bomb. Is that right? Today?
Today.
Today, a year. She's one of our customer support reps. So when you guys put in tickets and need help, guess what? That's one of the faces on the other end that's answering those questions. So Charisse, thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for helping us answer questions. I
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me.
Of course. So she will be here checking on chat, checking on Q&A. She's got that technical help that is just will never be missed because Kevin needs that help too. I use them all the time. Secondly, and certainly not least though, is Steve LeBaron. Steve LeBaron, good morning, my friend. How are you?
Oh, doing so good. So good today. I'm back in Colorado for a little bit.
Yeah,
Hometown.
I can see he's in the office today. He lives in Utah, so it's fun to see him kind of back in the office saying hi to some people. I wish I was in there too. Steve's actually our customer support manager. Is that the right title? Did I do that? So he helps kind of manage our whole support team. He's worked, I think, every job on the CS side of the house you could possibly work. He's been an OM, he's managed accounts, he's been a support rep, he's done all sorts of things. So man, you're at 8 years at BombBomb, 7 years at BombBomb. So he's
Seven
got
and a half
endless knowledge
years.
as
Yeah.
well, which is going to be really, really awesome. So, Mike, I saw your Q&A. Love that you threw that in there. I see you're asking about cold calling, cold introductions. We're going to talk about a lot of that stuff today. So, thank you for posing that. But let's leave that question up there in case anybody's got thoughts about that. But we will be talking about cold calling and those things as well. So, I think that's the main stuff. Let me go ahead and share my screen here with you so you can see a little bit of what we're covering today. Obviously, we're titling this Enhancing Communication. One of the things we've realized is that a lot of people are excited about video, but they're still using the standard forms of communication. None of that stuff is going away. So what I want to show you and what we want to cover a lot today is this idea of how do you use these different channels? How do you use video specifically in these different channels that we're all using? One, what are some of the pains of those channels, the pains of the things that we're trying to work through, and how is video going to help in that regard? Because it's easy to just do the normal things, stay with the normal routine, keep doing the things you've always been doing that have been working, and we can get lost in that flow. But we also know that if we're going to be relevant in a lot of the industries that you all are in, whether it's real estate or mortgage or insurance or financial or heck, just sales, you're just a salesperson. We've got to keep being creative. We've always got to keep challenging ourselves. And that's my hope, is that we give you a few light bulbs of some ways that you can use video that maybe you're not doing it currently right now. So that's kind of the overall theme of the things that we're covering today. I do want to jump in and show you something that is always something I'm excited about, but reintroduce it to some of you, introduce it to others of you. BombBomb Studios is our learning development courses that we have here at BombBomb. There are product courses, there are feature courses, there are strategy courses. These are basically on-demand courses that you can go to and learn more about how to use video. Some of the things we're going to talk about, there are going to be courses that apply really, really specifically for that. And an exciting new thing, which I'm showing you in this video here, is we just opened up BombBomb Studios for everyone. It used to be locked down, so only if you had an existing BombBomb membership could you use BombBomb Studios. Well, now, guess what? You can log in and create your own account and do it yourself no matter what. So again, hop in here. Steve or Charisse, if you want to grab the link for BombBomb Studios, it's training.bombbomb.com. But if one of you guys wants to share that in chat, that would be amazing, just so people can click on it and save it. And again, you can go look at all the different courses that are there, learn about whatever specific. Some of these courses are 10 minutes long, some are 45 minutes long, and you will be able to see that before you sign up and before you click through that. And then by creating your account, it actually is going to save your progress. You can always come back to it and learn and do things that way as well. So wanted to just tease that because we are going to talk about a lot of this content as we're moving through here. And you know that we always want to provide resources for you so that you can continue to learn. Janice, I see that you already asked in the Q&A, are the courses free with a membership? You don't have to have a membership anymore. Huzzah! It's free for anybody. So yes, if you have a membership, thank you. We love that. But you can hop in and take any of those courses, as many as you want, get those certifications, have fun with it. But those of you that don't have memberships, guess what? You can hop in and do it too. And Charisse, thank you for sharing that link. I appreciate it. If you guys want to click on that, just save it on your computers. That's a great way to do it. So let's talk about this first and foremost. Let's talk about why are we talking about this kind of multi-channel, omni-channel approach? Now, for those of you, go ahead and throw this in chat. How many of you are familiar with the term omni-channel? How many of you have kind of heard that terminology before? It's okay if you haven't, Amanda, with a strong nope right away. Yeah. That's great. That's why we're here, is to talk about this. Because what's interesting is we as consumers are dealing with omni-channel approaches a lot, and we don't even realize what's going on with it and what is it. So let's start with the definition, because I'm seeing a lot of nopes, a lot of no's in the chat here, which is amazing. I love that you're here to kind of learn about this. So here's high level definition, and then we'll kind of talk through a little bit more. An omni-channel strategy is a sales and marketing method designed to deliver a seamless and consistent customer experience across all touch points. Now, this might include a brick and mortar shop, website, email, social and mobile, anywhere the brand is present. So think for a second, and if you want to throw these in chat, it's always fun to learn these things as well. Think about brands that you feel really loyal to, or that you feel really connected with. Throw them in chat, because I'm always curious to hear what you guys think about that. I know I have some that come to mind that are brands that's just like, as soon as I see that logo, as soon as I see whatever advertised, I automatically assume something. I'll throw one out there that I was actually talking with one of our marketing team about. Costco, right? I know there's a huge Costco Sam's like battle war debate that goes on of which is better. I'm not here for that. I'm not talking bad about anybody. But for me, Costco is really interesting because it's funny. I was actually there with my kids yesterday. And as soon as I see something at Costco, I automatically make an assumption. I must be getting a really good deal on this. And I don't know why. That's probably true to a degree, but it's not like I'm sitting there with my phone double checking, oh, what can I buy this for elsewhere? They have created this brand and this approach to help me think, wow, I'm getting a really, really good deal, because they've approached it and they've branded themselves in that way. Tanisha, I see Kroger. That's a good one. Yep. Dollar Shave Club. Steve, they've done an amazing job. I think you need a little bit more up here with the shaving, just kind of like me. Yeah, I think we've missed a spot. But yes, Beth Ellen, Apple, Costco, Pottery Barn, right? And these are really interesting. I love the Pottery Barn one. Pottery Barn is by far not the cheapest place to go buy furniture and buy things for your home. And yet they've built this rapport, this brand where we don't care. We're willing to spend $100 on a pillow because we believe that that pillow is going to be high quality. We're getting an experience when we go into the store, all of these things. So I'm scrolling through these just to kind of see Bay to Beach Builders. I've never heard of that one, Janice. Amish built homes. Absolutely. That's a really, really cool one, because there's a lot of perception around Amish built thing that's got high quality, that it's built in a really unique way. Love that. Google, totally. So Sarah, you even threw color combinations. Yes, all of these are playing into the brand itself. IKEA, duh, come on. We know, even though we all hate putting IKEA together, Scott, don't tell me you don't. I know you do. I know it's a battle. But this is something that's really interesting to think about. And I want you to start thinking about this with your business specifically. So here's some of the benefits of the omni-channel approach. One is the consistency. Without fail is consistency. Now, I'm going to touch on this in a slide in a second here. There is a difference between a multi-channel and an omni-channel approach. And it's subtle, but we're going to talk about that in just a second. One of the benefits of the omni-channel approach is the consistency, is building that emotional connection with your clients, right? That feel good about Pottery Barn, about IKEA, that trust that, yeah, I believe that when I buy something from you, I know what I'm getting and I'm getting a good value for it at the cost. And it also starts to build champions. Beth Ellen, right there, you threw out Pottery Barn. I believe in Pottery Barn. Well, guess what? There's however many hundred people on this call that went, oh, yeah, that's cool. Now I know somebody that believes in that product, and you're talking about that product. We've got a coworker here, Paul Karlik. Some of you have met him. He's a CSM here at BombBomb. He talks to me about this chapstick company all the time. And I forget exactly the name of it, but talk about building a champion. He loves this company and he talks about it constantly. I always joke with my wife, Lydia, the best thing you can do from a marketing perspective is wow her, because she will not keep her mouth shut if she likes your brand and she likes your company. So keep that in mind. We can wow people by having this omni-channel, this consistent approach. Massive competitive differentiator. Think about a company where somebody goes and they're getting different messages all over the place. There's not a singular kind of value prop that they're getting from a company, and yet your company is doing this more consistently. I think a lot of you who are owning your own business, this is really impactful for, because it's really easy to kind of go, I'm not a marketer. That's not why I jumped into this role. So how do I keep it consistent? Well, that's some of the stuff that we want to talk about and why omnichannel is so powerful. And then a healthier funnel. The more that we're touching people consistently in different places, the more that we're going to stay top of mind, the healthier that funnel is going to be, the more they're going to be reminded, even if they've bought from us, that they need to build that repeat and referral for us, keep that flow, keep that funnel going. The better the leads are that come into our funnel, the more likely they are to purchase and the less leads we actually need. And I think especially for those of you that are in the home industry, there has been a huge push for the last 10 years of buy leads, buy leads, buy leads. You need more leads. And you're spending hundreds of dollars a month to bring in leads, and yet we're not converting a very high percentage of those. So what if we were able to build up that quality? All of these things are come from this omni-channel approach of using different channels to communicate consistently. Now, I talked about the multi-channel. Multi-channel is really similar because it's a lot of people, yourselves included, who are doing different things, like using email. We're using social media. Maybe you are texting some clients and doing different things, but we don't have a consistent brand. We don't have that consistent approach across all of these. We're just kind of winging it left and right. Versus, I remember a real estate agent I talked with a long time ago. He found out, you know what? I love cooking. And I've learned that the people that want to hear from me and follow me don't always need to hear about homes. And he started posting recipes and sharing content from a cooking and baking standpoint. And he started to build a consistent brand with this. And then, of course, they associate him. He's a realtor. That's what he does. So they remembered that. But he found out something that was consistent that he could make omni-channel and use in a lot of different ways rather than just kind of randomly doing different things in different places. And that really is the difference between multi-channel and omni-channel. The second piece, we've been talking about brand a lot here, but I think it's a really good reminder for all of you. You are a brand. I think it's really interesting to go, oh, I'm a mortgage lender and I work for X, Y, and Z company, so that's my brand. Yes, it is. You chose them for a reason, but you are different than all of the other lenders that are in that company. If you're a real estate agent, you are different than all of the other realtors that are within your company. So what does that mean? How are you different? What do you bring to the table that you feel like is a differentiator from everybody else? That's your brand. We've done some webinars in the past on this. I think it was a little while ago, so you could go back and look on our YouTube page and find that, all about branding and using our email composer and bringing that in and some questions to ask yourself for your brand. So we're not going to dive deep into that today, but I highly suggest, especially end of the year, thinking about going into next year, start kind of come up with maybe 4 or 5 words that you think defines your brand and what you bring to the table. And then we can start building our approach specifically on that, which is really, really interesting. The third part here, and this is really that omni-channel, what we're going to cover on, is you have to be diversifying the ways that you're reaching out to clients. One of the things I hear from clients a lot is, man, I just can't get people to open my emails. Email is dead. Nobody wants to email anymore. Okay, well, what else are you doing? Well, nothing. That's kind of how I do it. Okay, well, obviously email's not dead because you're only emailing. So you're still using it pretty consistently. But the reason you're not getting responses from people is you might be emailing people who don't like email very much. How much are we thinking about that other person and that recipient of where do they like to live? Are we being curious about that? If you're just emailing everybody, you're missing a whole bunch of people because they might not live on their emails. So we've got to be thinking about text messages, phone calls, social media. You can run Google ads. You can do all sorts of different things, but we have to start to think about where does our team live and how do we diversify into those specific areas. If we're not doing that, then we are absolutely missing opportunities with clients because we're assuming that they're living where we want to send. And we have to start thinking about our recipients about where do they want to receive? Where do they spend their time? And how do I bring my brand and my approach to that channel specifically? So the last thing I wrote down there is the number of touches matters, so does the quality. There's so many stats out there. I don't know the exact number now, but the number I've heard a lot is like 12 to 16 touches. It takes 12 to 16 touches to convert a cold lead. Mike, you were asking about this in the Q&A. Well, I need Q&A strategies. Yeah, because it's really, really exhausting. How many of us want to sit there and actually reach out to somebody 12 to 16 times before we ever hear anything back? I don't. How many of us as a consumer want somebody to call us 12 to 16 times before I ever respond? I don't. I don't want you to bother me that much. If I have not responded within a couple of calls, I don't want to hear that response. And yet, we have to do it because the numbers matter. But what I want to challenge you on, and what the point of this webinar is to go, how do we improve the quality of those touches so that we don't have to maybe get to 16 and we don't feel like we're bothering people and we're not playing that game as much. Now, is this going to guarantee one touch will convert leads for you? Absolutely not. I'm not here to like overpromise anything like that. But I strongly believe that by differentiating, by creating your brand, by touching them in different ways on different channels, we can get to the number of touches we need in a much more organic, natural way. So it's not just call, voicemail, call, voicemail, call, voicemail, send an email, 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 right? We've got these cadences in our systems and we're not relying on that. We can do this in a natural way. And I hope to show you today how video can really, really be a piece of that. So what channels are we going to focus on? Well, I just talked about a handful of them on that last one, but here's the main ones we're going to focus on today: text messaging, phone calls, social media, and email. Now, those are four pretty big ones. We're not really going to dive into Google ads and purchasing stuff and Facebook ads and all those things. Am I here saying those are bad approaches? Absolutely not. But I want to focus on the video piece. And we know literally from across the board, we might have some stats. I don't remember exactly if I put them in this deck or not, about how much more impactful video is across the board. People want to watch videos. They are engaging at a much higher rate than any other piece of content that's being shared, even pictures, even GIFs, even those things. Yes, those are all better than just black and white text, but universally, we know video is going to get you higher engagement. So let's talk about that within kind of each of these channels so you can learn exactly how to use video in a much more effective way. So first and foremost, I want to jump in with a big one that we get questions about all the time. I see Steve already smiling because they're on the Care team. They get lots of questions and tickets about text messaging. And I know a lot of you are really curious about this. How do we use it for text messaging? Well, first and foremost, before we jump into how video helps, let's talk about some of the pain points that come with text messaging, because there are. I think we all, especially my generation, younger, are really reliant on text messaging. It's amazing how offended my nieces and nephews get when I call them on the phone. They're like, why would you call me? What a weird thing to do. And I know my kids are probably headed there soon whenever they get phones, if I ever give them a phone. But they want to text. That's how they communicate, right? This is how they're doing it. Social media, DMs, text messaging, this is what they want to do. However, this is hard when it comes to business because we're not just texting our friends. So think about this. When's the last time you got a text from an unfamiliar number? I mean, we're not going to get into the politics of this, but with the election just ending, the amount of text messages I was getting from random numbers was absolutely insane. And I'm not even in a swing state. I empathize with those of you that are in Pennsylvania. I forget who it was that said they were in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'm sorry. I'm sure your phone was blowing up. So this is hard, right? As soon as we get an unfamiliar number, what's the first thing before you even read it that you think to type? Stop. I don't want this. Stop texting me. Stop bothering me. We either ignore, we delete, we get rid of numbers that are from a number we don't know about. We don't want to read that. So that's a hard thing to overcome. I do personally believe that even if it's from somebody I know, my initial gut reaction is negative when I get a text from a number I don't know. So it kind of breaks that trust that then if I reread that text message and see who it is, I can rebuild that. But there is this momentary like, oh gosh, who wants to bug me? We all have enough noise in our lives. Who wants me now? So we've got to think about that. It can momentarily break the trust, and it creates that initial doubt that we talked about. We also do have some character limits. Now, of course, you can send very long text messages. When's the last time you read a paragraph over paragraph over paragraph text message and it was something you wanted to read? I literally can't think of the last one. The last long text message I can think of was like oh man, we've got some drama. We got to deal with it. And I've got a long text message I got to deal with. Like, it's not a thing that you want to read and scroll through paragraphs of content in text. Text is for to be quick, responsive, move forward, move on to the next thing. So yes, technically we don't have character limits. However, I think emotionally we do have limits on what we're willing to engage with on a text basis. Number 3, lack of detail, right? All the just standard black and white text versus video. We are missing the opportunity to give so much of who we are. There's a lot of stats about how much of our communication is nonverbal. A number that gets thrown around is 93% from a study that was done 20, 25 years ago. I don't personally like that number, the way that they built that. So the number that I've kind of found in studies that they report back to nonverbal is close to 80% of your communication is nonverbal. Still a very high number. That felt the way that they did this study back then really made me believe it a lot more than the higher numbers there. So we are not getting any of the nonverbal elements. And we're missing the tone and the empathy and all of those things. So think about the last time you got a text and all of a sudden read it and you were like, dang, why are they coming at me? And your person that sent it didn't mean that at all. It's amazing the tone that we will put on. And I see Sharice and Steve are laughing and nodding, right? We've all had it happen, whether we've sent something and it got misconstrued or the opposite way. What's fascinating about this is we don't know what that recipient's going through at this moment in their life. And they could be going through a really stressful thing, read your text, and because they're in that mindset, take it in the way that was never intended at all. And it's just because we only have the words. We don't have those added elements. So those are some of the standard pains that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with when it comes to text messaging and can understand those pieces. So let's talk about video in text. How does video in general help with text messaging? Well, first and foremost, you can see I wrote there vertical. Anybody that's been with BombBomb for a long time knows we talk horizontal a lot with video, right? Side to side. We talk about horizontal. Why? Because when you're emailing or sending on a screen, it formats the video in a much better way to where it fits in the email. It looks really nice. However, if you're recording a video that you know you're texting, who do you know that reads their texts like this? Nobody, right? We all are like this. So we want that video to show up the right way that they are anticipating. Now, if you do a horizontal video, that's fine. We will format it and make it smaller. You can see that example on the side on the right, that picture I did. That was when I actually recorded on my computer and texted it to somebody. And it still formats it and squeezes it. However, when they play it, now it's going to have the black bars at the top and bottom because I recorded it horizontally. So just think about that. Think about your approach when you're recording your video. What channel am I going to send this prior to actually recording? And you can format that in the right way. So that's one that we've learned a lot about that can really just help create a better recipient experience in that regard. This is probably one of the biggest tips. So let me take a step back here with text messaging. And we're going to talk about you can text with BombBomb. You can use the BombBomb mobile app to text, and we'll talk about that in a second here. I want to be very, very clear that when you're texting videos, there is a lot of stuff out of BombBomb's control in how that text is going to show up. And people ask us this all the time. So what are some of the standard questions we get? One, will it just send a link or is it going to send a preview of the video? We don't know. We cannot guarantee one way or the other. There are factors like what is their cell phone provider? AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, they all handle it differently. Two, what type of phone do they have? Do they have an Android? Do they have an iOS, iPhone? Those handle it and have different security things that we have to overcome when you are text messaging somebody. But the one that we can actually control to a degree is, do we have a texting relationship with this person? That is one of the biggest factors. No matter what company, no matter what type of phone, if they see that you've texted back and forth with this person and understand there's a relationship there, they are much more likely to show that preview and go, you know what? This looks like a trusted relationship that both have said yes to. We're going to go ahead and send that preview because we believe that they want this. So how do we do that? How do we control that? Mike, your question about cold calling. Always send a written text first. Always send something that is just text that you can say. And the way that I personally like to do this is put their personal name in there, let them know this is for them. This is not a spam text. Let them know who you are, why you are reaching out. And I use it as an opportunity to verify their phone number. This is what I have found to be really comfortable and work for me. Hey, Jim, it's Kevin here. Hey, I know you had submitted some information on this site. I wanted to make sure this was the right phone number for you so that I could send up and follow up with some content on that. As soon as you even get back like oh, hey, Kevin, yes, this is Jim. Thanks for the text. Send. Now you both have sent text back and forth. We're starting to establish that relationship. Now you can send and follow up with the video, and it's much more likely to show up with the preview that you're seeing here. So that's one of the best practices I have found with text messages to do that. And it really helps with some of the things we can't control here at BombBomb, like all of those pieces that we talked about earlier. The other piece that I want to address real quickly here that's not on my list, but that I want to talk about is group texting. People ask, can I send a mass text to a lot of people? One, we just talked about how I don't personally believe that's the best experience. Yes, is it convenient? Potentially, but it goes back to like kind of the mass emailing. Are we losing clients to try to gain one because we're sending this mass, unpersonal, unsegmented message to a lot of people? The second reason is when you text, if you're using BombBomb, it actually is going to text from your native phone text messaging app. So if you've got iPhone, it's going to send from your Messages app, which means we've all been on a group text before. We've all seen all the responses. Not many of us want to be on those with a bunch of people we don't know. So be aware of that. You're not going to be able to text a mass blast to a bunch of people. They're all going to see all the numbers. They're going to know it was sent to a lot of people. Not a great experience. So I usually will recommend doing much more one-to-one video texting. It allows you to personalize the video. It allows you to segment that content to something that's really relevant for that person. And it creates a much better experience. We're not burning bridges in trying to touch base with somebody. So just another piece there. We talked about the always adding text and the sending the text prior. The last thing I want to touch about with text messaging that's a really good practice is naming your video. We talk about this a lot in BombBomb for lots of reasons when it comes to tracking and those sort of pieces. But when you text a video through the BombBomb app, it will show the name. So this is another opportunity to let them know this is for you, right? Hey, Charisse, here's those details you asked about in the message that you left me. That's all you got to put. And it's another way for her to go, oh, I got a text from him with my name in it. Now I can see this video has a personal title. I'm much more likely to click that. So use these pieces from BombBomb to help you be more successful in the way that you're using that. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper into how BombBomb will help you with that. First and foremost, the mobile app and our keyboard. So the mobile app, I know there have been some really good conversations and questions going on in the chat here. So if you don't have the BombBomb mobile app and you're in a free trial or a membership, get it. It's awesome. You literally just go into your normal app store and search BombBomb and you'll find it. You can download it, log in with whatever credentials you use to create that BombBomb trial or membership. And now you literally have video usage just at your fingertips. There's a couple of pieces that our mobile app provides that you don't natively have on your phone. One example is a pause button. You can actually start recording, pause your video, move to a new location, start recording again, pause, and we'll stitch that all together into one seamless video. Great for like home walkthrough tours. If you want to like start outside of a home and then jump into a spot, it just helps you streamline a 15-minute video of you walking around and walking up the stairs into something that's got the highlights they need. So that's one piece. You also can flip the camera mid video. So you can point it the internal one at you and then go external facing to show different things. So there's a lot of different opportunities that you have there. And then of course, it's a simple system that's all central as well. So any video you've recorded on your computer, you've got access to on your phone now, vice versa. You can use all of that content in one way. We also have a BombBomb keyboard that's built into the mobile app. You do have to turn it on a little bit. And Steve or Charisse, if you don't mind grabbing the links for the keyboard, we have, Steve's going to grab it and he'll throw that in chat as well. That is basically how the keyboard works, how you can turn it on within the mobile app. But essentially what this allows you to do is anywhere you go where you click like a text area and it pulls up the keyboard. I know it's especially on iOS because I use it all the time. You can have a lot of different keyboards. I was doing like a language app, so I've got an Italian keyboard that I can access and type in and do different things. Well, guess what? BombBomb has one that allows you to access your video library and pull those videos into anywhere you want to share them. So it's great because you don't have to leave the text messaging You don't have to leave the app wherever you are on your phone. You can just switch over to that BombBomb keyboard, grab the video link, paste it in to that text area, and then add the appropriate text you need to. So a couple of ways that we will help you a lot with that. Now, a few of the other things BombBomb will do if you're texting through our system versus just texting, on your phone itself. Of course, the tracking will let you know if it's been engaged with, if the video's been played, what percentage is watched, those sort of things. Mike, this is a great strategy for the cold calling stuff. You don't want to be reaching out to people when they're having dinner with their kids or when they're at work or wherever it may be. We don't want to be a nuisance, right? We want to reach out when we know they're engaging with our content. So if I all of a sudden have my notifications from my BombBomb app and I'm like, oh, John Smith just watched or opened my email, John Smith just played my video, I'm going to hop in and maybe try to reach out to him now because he's staring at my face. He's looking at my face as we speak. It's a much better opportunity. And there's a lot of different philosophies on, do you let them know you have tracking? Do you not? I'll tell you what, I've never had somebody be like, why are you tracking? People know that there's tracking in emails now. So you don't really have to beat around the bush. It's a great way to follow up and be like, hey, I know I sent you that email a little bit ago. Saw that you were taking a look at that video and I wanted to make sure I reached out at a time that was good for you to answer whatever questions you might have. Boom. And now you're here and you're available and you have a chance to talk to them, which is ultimately kind of the best win. We want to have that live interaction with them. Uh, I've already talked about adding the name of the video. It keeps the video in your control, which is a really interesting thing. When you just text a video to somebody, that video is now, they can download that video onto their device and do whatever they want with it. Now, I don't know why most people would do that with a business related video, but you never know. The internet's a weird place. People are interesting. So what I love about this is with BombBomb, when we're hosting it, if you send something that accidentally had sensitive information or that you accidentally sent to the wrong person, instead of not being able to do anything and you have to text the person, I'm so sorry, that was the wrong video. I didn't mean to send that to you. And now they're going to watch it and try to figure out why. You can actually go into your BombBomb account and either delete that video or put that video on lock or put a password on it or do different things that we have from a security standpoint that help you stay in control of that video. So just like a nice fail safe to have in the back end in case something accidentally goes wrong. And then lastly, I would say I feel like it's more professional as well because it's coming through a system. It's hosted by something that's reputable. I get so many videos from my family and my friends and that stuff, and I love that. But if some person that I don't know very well all of a sudden sends me a video that just shows up in my text message, I'm going to be hesitant to click play on that. If I don't know you well enough, we've got to earn that trust. Knowing that it's through a system that, again, will have the text around it, will have the name on it, those pieces, it will help you with that engagement because it gives people a little bit of a, okay, they're obviously professional. They're doing this in a different way. This is not just somebody texting me a random video on my phone. It just kind of releases some of those sort of things. So ultimately, can texting videos be a great strategy? Yes, do it. That's part of the omni-channel approach is if you've got somebody that's always living in their text messages and you know always responds, great, send them the videos there because that's where they want to live and they want to respond. We don't want to be emailing that person all the time. So use that, find the right people, the right circumstances where sending the videos through BombBomb in the text messages can really be helpful for you. Now, this next one, you might kind of laugh at a little bit. I know as I was typing this up, I was like, this feels really strange of like, how do you use a video with a phone call? I mean, we're not going to start. You could FaceTime clients, I suppose. I like FaceTiming people, but you're not going to do that with a cold call. You're not going to hope somebody answers a random FaceTime from a number they don't know, right? So let's talk about phone calls and let's talk a little bit about some of the standard kind of pains that we experience when you're doing that. Of course, the unknown numbers. We talked about it with the text messaging. I don't need to kind of beat that horse anymore. We know we're going to decline the stuff and we're not going to answer the stuff that we don't want to. However, we're also not getting a lot of calls back. People are not really listening to voicemails. In fact, I know with iPhone, and I believe Android does it too, it now transcribes voicemails. So how often do I even listen to a voicemail? I don't. If I don't know the number, I look at the transcription and now I'm only getting the text. I'm not getting any of the empathy, the tone, the nonverbal communication stuff. So you're missing the visual cues, you're missing all the nonverbal communication. You can't track from a sending perspective, have they listened to my voicemail? I have no idea if I can follow up with that person or not. I have no idea how to reference what engagement I'm getting because there's no way to tell if they're listening to my voicemail. It's also a pretty time-consuming thing. I mean, how many rings do you get before you ever get to a voicemail or an answer? Each phone call is going to take a minute or two each, and then you got to log that stuff and do all the things. So it can be a little bit time-consuming. And I think this is a really important one to touch on as well, of the element of synchronous versus asynchronous. With phone calls, with conversations, we have to be synchronous. We have to catch somebody at a time where they are willing to answer and have time to talk. And that's hard from a sales perspective because even if somebody answers a lot of times and they're like, oh, hey, I'm calling from X, Y, and Z, they're like, oh, I'm actually got a meeting in a few minutes. I don't have time to do this right now. With video, the beauty of it is you can send that video when you can record it and send it whenever you want to. They can then watch that video whenever it's convenient for them. They don't have to do it right this second. So the ability for it to be asynchronous helps a ton. Now, for those of you that are kind of thinking about the cold calling stuff and the cold calling stats, I pulled some that I just thought were really, really interesting as a reference. I'm not sitting here telling you don't do cold calls. I know sales is a numbers game. You've got to do a number of these things to catch up on these pieces. But 87% of Americans don't answer unknown calls. If I don't know the number, I'm not answering it. I fall in that category. Absolutely. I don't usually answer it unless I'm waiting for a doctor to call or make an appointment on something and I'm expecting a call from a number that I don't know. Then I might try, right? 80% of cold calls end up in voicemail. Not surprising. Cold calling success rate is only 2%, right? That's a lot of calls to convert a very low percentage. 93% of successful leads reached on the sixth attempt. So that's a number a little bit lower than that 12 to 16 that I was talking about earlier, but it takes 6 calls to actually reach somebody and have them answer. That's a lot of calls for me if I'm calling every lead 6 times before I'm getting many answers on those, right? And I love this one. It takes 209 calls on average for one appointment to be made in cold calling. 209 calls. Look at your numbers. If you're somebody that does a lot of the cold calling and does a lot of cold outreach, how many calls do you make on average a day? Just think about it. And I don't know a number. I know for me, when I was in sales years ago, a big day of a lot of calls was in the 40 to 50 range. That was a lot of calls for me. That means every 4 days I'm setting one appointment if I'm just doing cold calls with that number. That does not feel great. That's grinding. That's going to wear you out. So, how do we help with that? We can use video. We can personalize. Now, there's 2 strategies, and I'm going to talk to you both because I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think you can use it either way. Here's how video can help. One, you send a video first. So here's kind of the strategy around this, right? You record a video, you send it to that person, and it helps you build that expectation. If they watch the video and then you call, as soon as you say your name, they're going to associate that with the video that they saw, the face that they saw. Now they have some recognition of who they're talking with, and it's a real person. It's not just a salesperson, a general kind of salesperson term. So it puts that face to the name. But here's what you can do in the video is you can help build that expectation. Hey, John, thank you so much for submitting your information. Hey, I'm going to shoot you a call because I would love to chat with you more about the solutions that we can provide for you. But I wanted to introduce myself first, and I wanted to let you know I'm going to be calling from a 323 number. You might not recognize the number, but that's me calling to reach out. So keep your eyes open for that. When you see that, just know it's me just calling to see if I can help you out with that. And then again, giving them the reason of why they should answer. I'm here to solve X, Y, and Z problem, to provide X, Y, and Z solution for you. So when you send the video first, it builds the expectation a lot on them being willing to answer. It will increase the actual answers you get. Now, the flip side is you call first and send a video after. Here's the strategy around this and some of the benefits of this. And this is one that if you came to our webinar a handful of months ago with Chris Anthony, who's our inside sales manager, he talked about this and I thought it was really interesting. When you call first, the goal is not to have them answer or call you back. That's kind of the standard CTA that salespeople have, right? Is, hey, shoot me a call back. Would love to chat about X, Y, and Z. No, now the CTA is, I'm going to follow up with a video. I'd love for you to pop in that email, take a look at that video, and see if it's a potential solution or what you were looking for. The goal of this is now to have them open the email and watch the video. Why? Because that video is the key to them seeing you, building that trust, understanding who you are as a person, and now you're building that deeper connection. We're not going to count on them to call back because people are not calling back. We're not going to count on them to actually listen to the voicemail and hear our tone and empathy and how awesome we are. No, if they read the transcript, they're going to see, take a look at the email. I'm sending you a personalized video. Oh, all right, let me see if I got one, and I'll watch that video now. So it's going to increase the engagement on that second touch. This is how we improve the quality and not just the quantity of our touches. And this is how video can help a lot within that. So if you're doing a lot of cold calling and phone calling, absolutely. I'm not sitting here telling you that your manager, your boss is wrong and telling you you have to do those things. Totally. But I want you to slow down and think a little bit of how can I improve those touches and really improve my odds of getting engagement on some of these touches and having them work together. This is that omni-channel approach we were talking about. Email and phone can work together. Email and text can work together. We've got to reach out in some different ways there. So let's jump into social media. I know we've got about 20 minutes left here, and I want to make sure we're eyeing some questions. Sharice and Steve, you guys are killing it on chat questions, and thank you both for doing that. But I want to break this one down really quickly into two groups: social media and messaging apps. I think they can get grouped together, but we're starting to see them separate more and more. For example, Facebook now has a totally separate messenger app. I guess that's probably been around for a couple of years. I'm just catching up, but you can see I'm not just logging into Facebook for everything if I'm on my phone. So I want you to think about social media as posting. We're doing the live posting for either all of our followers or the public as a whole, wherever they may possibly want. That's what I'm going to refer to as social media, are the posting pieces. So Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, X, whatever it may be. That's going to be kind of the social media side. Now, the private messaging, the DMs, direct messaging, is going to be those different apps that are associated with these, but they're separate. Messenger is the app that Facebook uses for private conversations with people. Instagram's got DM. LinkedIn has messaging within their app that you can use. I know WhatsApp and Telegram all have direct messaging components that you can use if you want to. Now you get to decide for your business, where does my audience live? Where do I want to live? And where do I want to communicate? I'm not telling you at all to screenshot this and go start every account on here, because you won't keep up with it. Let's just be real. But what I am saying is, find the ones where you think your audience lives. I know for me, and this is different, I think, on a person by person basis. So you just got to take numbers. My wife loves Instagram. That's where she lives. I got really into TikTok for a while and loved posting and loved watching things and sharing things. I saw some amazing business growth from companies that I followed on TikTok and those sort of things. So there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of these. The one thing I'm going to say, and then we're not going to focus as much on posting, we're going to focus more on the private messaging aspect of this. When you are sharing videos, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you share them natively to that app. For example, Instagram. If you're sharing a video on Instagram, can you take, well, Instagram's a bad example. We'll say Facebook. Can you take a BombBomb video that's hosted in BombBomb and share that on Facebook? Absolutely. And it's not the worst thing. You get added tracking. There are elements that are improved there. But what we've learned is that the social media algorithms want to share their own content more. So if you have a video that's uploaded to Facebook, it's going to get higher sharing. It's going to get shared with more people. Your audience is going to grow more than if you take an outside link, an outside video, and share it directly on there. So keep that in mind. Instagram, TikTok, you have to upload the video. You can't share a link to a video. They don't allow it. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about posting. I highly recommend taking the actual video file and uploading it to those systems. If you recorded your video in BombBomb, you can hop on and download that video out and then upload it to those others. So you still can use a video in multiple ways, but just keep that in mind. So some of the pains when it comes to social media. It can be informal, right? I think a lot of us use social media as an escape more than we do a marketing tool. It can absolutely be both, but it can sometimes feel informal because we're seeing all these videos from random people doing dancing videos and showing us their dinner and funny videos of people falling off trampolines. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I'm Kevin. You should come to me if you want to get a mortgage loan, right? Whatever that may be. So keep that in mind. Keep in mind to play to that environment. I'm not going to do a super laced up professional video on TikTok because no one's going to really watch that. That's not why they're there. So it can feel a little bit more informal. It can really struggle to handle more complex conversations, right? We have to think about how often are we willing to commit to this and coming back to this to go back and forth, and how willing is our person, our recipient, willing to come back and forth. If we're doing a lot of short text back and forth, that's a lot of commitment, and it can really kill the consistency if we're trying to manage multiple communication places. That's one of the hard parts about an omni-channel approach, is you have to keep eyes on these things. So if we've got 15 different social media apps that we're communicating in all these different places, it can be hard to stay on top of them all. And then of course can lack tone and personality, and sometimes can be hard to trust just because it is a little less formal. So how does video help when we're talking about messaging apps and DMs and direct messages? One, I think it can feel a lot more professional when you're using a system like BombBomb because of all the things we talked about in the text messaging stuff. We can put the title for the video. We can show them with the text above that this is tied to something, that I'm reaching out for a purpose. We can use a lot of the added tools to make sure that it comes across as a professional thing, not just a random person. I think we've all heard that term, like jump it into my DMs. Like, we don't want to come across like that. That's not the goal. Our goal is to actually communicate and reach out to people where we can. The second thing is it can create messaging that is consistent with your brand. Why? Because when they click play on this video, it will play it on BombBomb's video page that has your branding. It has links to other things. So you can start to have a consistent branding message, which is really, really important. It also gives the ability to save time because you can use evergreen videos. If you don't want to do a new personalized one for each individual person, you can record a little bit more of a generic video and share it and still have the title there without a name in it. Be something that is impactful for them and will make them want to watch that. It also allows, I think, that complexity component, which I think is an important thing. I can get so much more across in a 2-minute video than I could ever get typing out text and going back and forth. So if I can have them convey a lot more in one experience, my odds of having a back and forth and establishing that trust and relationship are much, much higher. We've got to keep that in mind with video as well. And of course, it includes all the nonverbals, all those pieces that we've been talking about that it provides no matter where you share. So how does BombBomb help directly if you're wanting to use this within messaging apps? Well, first and foremost, we do have integrations with some of them. One, the keyboard that we talked about earlier will allow you to put a video in any messaging app you want to. So get the mobile app, get that keyboard. It allows you to utilize that directly. Second, we also have integrations with places like LinkedIn, and I'll hop over and show this to you real quick here. If you're in a LinkedIn direct message, and I'll clap out for Alicia Baruti if you were around when she used to host with us all the time. She's moved on to some awesome new opportunities, but her and I used to send examples to each other all the time when we were hosting webinars. So you can see here within LinkedIn, this is how the video shows up because we have that conversation, the communication back and forth, that relationship is established. And there's also a little BombBomb button right down here. I can click on that from LinkedIn, from this direct message, and it's going to pop open my video recorder. So I don't have to go anywhere. I can record and send directly within LinkedIn, and it's just like my standard BombBomb recorder that has all of my components that I can use and grab and send directly from here. So BombBomb will help not only because of how it shows up and how you can engage with it, but also because it lives directly within LinkedIn or within the keyboard if that's what you want to use. Always add the text above. I cannot emphasize this enough. You have to earn the trust for people to click play on your video. How do we do that? By letting them know why they should watch the video, why this is important. Now, with an evergreen, you've got to be a little bit more unique because we don't want to say names specifically. We want to use that video over and over again. But if you're sending personal videos, let them know this is for you, Steve, from me, Kevin. Here's why I'm reaching out to you. And here's the information in the video that you need to watch to learn. We don't want to type out everything we're saying in the video. We have to give them a reason to actually go play as well. Then once they play that, they get the info, they get the value, they get to meet you, and you are now the expert, and you're now building that trust and that respect. I think there's that stat, how quickly you make a first impression or you build a first impression of somebody is within the first 10 seconds that you meet them. It might even be 7 seconds. So if I can get somebody to watch 7 seconds of my video, I've been able to make an impression on that person, and they will much more likely to remember me than just seeing a name, right? So keep that in mind. Name your video. We already talked about that. Reiterate the why. I also love this. This is a piece that BombBomb brings with the animated preview. So the first 3 seconds of the video that you record, we automatically make into this animated preview like you see here. You actually could see it in Alicia's as well. This one's not a great example because she sits still for a second there at the beginning, but here's one where she's kind of waving and smiling, right? So that shows up in the actual video. That movement makes people much more likely to engage with the content just because they see that there's something going on. It's not a static image. And then tracking. Even when you send it through social media, you'll be able to see, is that video played? How much of it did they watch? Did they get to the CTA that I wanted them to get to at the end? So on and so forth. So again, BombBomb adds all those elements that can really help you with that part. Now, I know I'm going fast. I know we've covered a ton of information, and I think Steve and Sharice are killing it with the questions. We haven't had a lot in the QA. If you've got questions, please throw them in chat, throw them in QA. Let us help you with that. I just want to make sure that we cover this last piece here in the last 10 minutes that we've got of this webinar, because I know a lot of us have a hard out at 11. So I want to make sure you get on to the next things you've got for your day. So let's talk about email. This is what a lot of people think about BombBomb and associate BombBomb with, is sending videos through email. However, what are some of the pains? One, we all know there is a lot of noise in the inbox. The average person receives 121 emails per day in the US. That's a lot of noise, a lot of junk, a lot of deleting content. We don't want to be associated with that. That's hard to battle through, right? Not everyone is checking their personal email inboxes. I've got a work one. I check that regularly. I kind of check my personal one a few times a day. I'm not high on that one as much. So we've all got multiple inboxes that we're checking and keeping track of, which makes it much more likely that we're just delete everything we don't immediately recognize. Can potentially a slow response time. They might open and forget to go back to your email. It can feel impersonal because it's associated with all that stuff. I think you guys know a lot of these elements of what email can bring. What does video in an email provide? A lot of great stuff. It will increase your email open rate. Promise, guarantee for everybody. If you put videos in emails and then let them know in the subject line, which we're going to talk about in a second here, you will have more people open your emails because they want to engage with video. Two, it increases the engagement in that email. The amount of clicks, the amount of plays, the amount of action that they're taking with an email will be higher because there's a video in it. It also increases responses, and it increases their follow through on what you're wanting them to do. I always say we don't send a video, we don't send an email just to give a ton of information. We do it to start conversations. We do it because we want to engage and create opportunities. That doesn't happen from just a whole information dump on somebody. So we need them to reply and continue that conversation back with us. It gives them more of you, allows them to get to know more of you. And then, like I said, people want to engage with video, not text. Here's a quote I found from Lisa Lubin that I thought was just really interesting around this topic. Video informs and entertains people, and good or bad, today most people prefer to watch a video rather than read a page of text. Pretty straightforward, but I do also love the informs and entertains. Again, why don't we want to read paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of text? Because it's just information. I want something that's entertaining. I want something that I'm going to enjoy for the next few minutes of my life before I jump into another appointment or a meeting or whatever that may be. So keep that in mind. So here's kind of the last big thing I want to cover. And then I forgot to tease this at the beginning, have a really exciting announcement that I will do after we walk through this, just before we finish off here at the end of this webinar. But I want to talk through what are some great strategies to build an email with a video in it that's going to get you really engaged. So let's kind of walk through this. I want you to think about this email as a journey that somebody has to go through. First and foremost is the subject line. The subject line is like the title or the cover of a book. If you're walking through a library or a bookstore, if you are not grabbed by that title, by the colors, by the book cover, you're not going to grab it and read anymore. Well, the subject line is the exact same way. So how do we stand out in the inbox? First and foremost, the word video is massively impactful. You can see in the example I put up here, I put video in parentheses at the beginning. I think the parentheses are just like they physically grab your attention. So when you're looking at a bunch of emails in a line and then you see something that looks a little different than what we're used to, it immediately grabs my attention. And then I see the word video. We have seen by doing A/B testing and studies that just putting the word video in a subject line will increase the open rate by over 7%. Now, that may not sound like a ton, but think about this. If you're getting a 15% open rate on your emails and that jumps to 22%, you now just went from below average to right about average or above, depending on the type of email that you're sending. Huge jump, a lot more people opening. So always put the word video in your subject line. The other piece that I like to touch on, I'm kind of going reverse in the way that I wrote these, 7 words or less. Why is that important? Because where are people checking their emails a lot nowadays? Here, on their phones. This screen is pretty tiny. We've got to make sure that the words that we put have that content within them. We don't want them to miss the reason to open the email, the value, the curiosity point, because our email was too long, because our subject line was too long. We've got to make sure we don't get that ... and we try to keep that subject line short. So 7 words or less is my general rule of thumb. Deborah, I know Steve just kind of showed it on his screen as well. I see a lot of people are asking about how'd you get Hi John on your phone. There's some great apps. One is Large Text if you have an Android. The other is, oh shoot, what's it called for iPhone?
Called Big.
Big. That's right. I was going to say that and it didn't sound right for some reason in my brain. Thanks, Steve. Steve saves the day. So Big for iPhone, Large Text for Android. There's also other ones. You can go get whatever one you want. Those are just ones that we have used that we recommend. Then you can type that up, hold that up for the first few seconds, and that helps. So then I want to introduce you post the subject line once they open it to a piece called text wrapping. What do I mean by that? It means the video has to have text above it and have text below it. We can't, again, we're building that trust for them to click play. We can't expect them to play the video without any other context. So we've got to give them a little bit. So what's important for that text above? Personalize it, put their name, let them know this is for them. And 2, why should they watch the video? Why should they be encouraged to watch it? So you can see in my example here, hey, I wanted to follow up on our meeting and talk through the next steps. So take a look at the video below. Okay, that's why I need to watch the video. So I know the next steps because we've already met. I need to know where we're going from here. If it's a cold outreach, Hey, John, I've got a couple of points I wanted to talk through in the video below about some solutions we think we could potentially help you and your business with. Take a look at that and see if those would be helpful for you. Right? I'm just building curiosity. I'm giving them reason to click play. Now, the text below, I'm going to jump down here a little bit, is reiterate the details of the actual video. You don't want them to have to rewatch the video 3, 4, 5 times if they don't want to, just to get an appointment date. So we have people that use appointment confirmation videos a lot. We don't want them to have to go back in to figure out, where am I meeting? What was the date? What's the time again? I missed that because I was just enjoying the video. So put that content below. We're meeting here. This is the time. This is the date. Here are the things you need to bring. It's just kind of reiterating that information to make it a seamless process for them. And then the other pieces here are the video. Now, there's a lot of pieces. One, we've talked about the animated preview. It's the first 3 seconds of your video. So whenever you go record, it's that first 3 seconds after the flash in BombBomb. We talked about personalizing that. Use that animated preview so they can see it. We just talked about the apps there. What I want to show you, and you can kind of see it in this example here, is you don't need to sit and talk like this for your whole video. We only need it in that first few seconds, right? So, hey, Charisse, it's Kevin here with BombBomb. I just wanted to touch base about X, Y, and Z and let you know I'm so excited to meet with you. Put it down and keep talking. You don't need to sit there and hold it. That feels a little awkward the whole time. But if it's in that first second or two, it's going to show up in the preview. That will show up in the email itself. So they know this video is just for them. And secondly is also I want to talk about our video banner that we automatically make for you. It's this play button with the banner kind of along the bottom that says play this however long video. Use the video length to your advantage. Nobody is going to watch a 10-minute video. I can promise you, unless they know you really well and know that you're sending them something that they really need. So one of my rules of thumb with length is the longer you've known them, the longer the video can be. Why? Because we have that trust built up. We have that relationship built up. For those of you that are cold calling and reaching out, do not send them a long video. My rule of thumb is 60 seconds or less. Why? Because if I see here 42 seconds and I'm somebody that's like, I don't know, Steve, but I've got 42 seconds, whatever. Let me just play it and see what happens. If I all of a sudden see 2, 3 minutes, I go, I don't know if I got 3 minutes for this person that I don't know, right? So it's amazing how the psychological effects in your brain make these quick decisions for you that we don't even realize. Even just seeing the word second versus the word minute, you will get more plays. So a 59-second video will get more plays than a 1-minute video. I know it sounds crazy, but it just will. So the shorter you can keep it, the better. To the point, introduction, what do you need? And then we move on from there. And then, of course, I also kind of forgot this, but make sure if you do have a CTA that we put that CTA in this ending text part. You can't have the CTA in too many places because it's the one thing we really want them to follow up on. We do have a tool here in BombBomb where you can add the CTA in a button in your video. That's something you can put in there that will pop up a couple seconds into your video. You can also put it down here. Make sure they don't miss that. I've talked to so many people that are like, well, people aren't following up with what I want them to do. And then we look at their data on their videos, and it's because they only say the CTA at the very end of the video, and nobody was watching all the way to that point. So Janice, great question. What is a CTA? A CTA is a call to action. So essentially, I'm sending this to you. What do I want back from you? Do I want you to schedule an appointment? Do I want you to email me back? Whatever that may be. Great question. Sorry, sometimes I make assumptions on those things. So make sure you include that in a lot of different places. So I know we've got 2 minutes left, and I want to jump in and show you this, but that's really, hopefully this gave you some ideas of some different ways to approach the different types of communication that we have, right? We're going to adjust things a little differently. There are the standard benefits of video no matter where we use it. But how do I use it effectively in these different areas, whether it's direct messaging, whether it's text messaging, whether it's email, whether it's using it with my phone calls? More than anything, I want you to hear, expand the way you're doing things. Start to get creative. We don't want to just be sending video emails all the time. Let's try it in text message with people that we communicate with a lot. Let's try it in DMs if we've got somebody that we know is living on Facebook or on LinkedIn a lot. We see them posting a lot. Great. I'm going to communicate with you that way. Use it in different ways to start to create this omni-channel approach for yourself so that you can really be connecting with people in a lot of different ways. The last thing I want to throw in here, and then I'll take a peek at quick questions, and then we're going to be done right on time today, is we have a really exciting opportunity coming up. If you've not been with BombBomb, if you don't have a membership with BombBomb, we are bringing back, which we have not done in I think a year or two, our BombBomb Not Black Friday sale. I love this because it is the one time of year that we discount our memberships. We never discount memberships. Now, unfortunately, this is only for new memberships. I wish I could offer it up for everybody, but this will be launching next Tuesday, which, let me look at the date, the 19th is when it starts. Tuesday the 19th through the 29th. So we're going to be offering it for a good amount of time. But if you've been considering BombBomb, this is an amazing opportunity to get in at a discounted rate, save yourselves $100, and still get all the benefits of the different memberships and those sort of things that you need. So it's 20% off any of the annual memberships. If it's something that you're curious in, you need to talk to more, yeah, reach out to us. Steve, thank you for sharing the support@bombbomb.com email address. You can reach out to that and we'll get you in touch with the right person. We might be able to answer the questions, whatever you may need, but don't miss an opportunity to take advantage of this because it really, really is an awesome opportunity. And we haven't done this in, I think, a year or two. So we're bringing it back, which is really, really fun. So thank you all for your time. I really, really appreciate you guys coming here and sharing an hour with us. I know your time is important and impactful, and it means so much that you come to us. And hopefully we gave you an idea or two or a few new things that you can try to challenge yourself and expand the way that you're doing things. I really, really hope that these are always beneficial for you. We're going to continue mapping this out, continue doing this for you guys every month. We'll be bringing something back in December, so keep your eyes out for that. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your November. For those of you in America, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. For those of you in Canada, don't, because yours is not right now. So have a great Thanksgiving when it is yours. Steve, Charisse, you're the best. Thank you both for all of your support and help on this. I hope you all have an amazing fall, an amazing November. Enjoy your family and friends. We are so lucky to have you as part of the Bomb family, and we can't wait to see you next month.